Hi, for this assignment, I chose the book If You Give a Pig a Pancake by Laurel Numeroff. I picked this story to do with first graders. It's a first grade level book. This story has really cute illustrations and it's just a really funny story and it incorporates the if then situations, so you could be working with that with your students. I'll read just a little bit of it. When she's all dressed, she'll ask for some music. You'll play your very best piano piece and she'll start dancing. Then she'll want you to take her picture, so you'll have to get your camera. So it goes on and on about something she does, and then the pig asks for something else. Well, first off, we would read this together as a class orally, and kids would be able to ask questions and we would interact with the story. After the story, one of the activities I was thinking about doing with this is the children would role play. They could role play the beginning, the middle, and the end. So they would be broken up into 3 different groups, and they would work together to figure out which part of the beginning, which part of the middle, and which part of the end they wanted to role play. Now, a challenge with this activity is first graders are a little bit young, and so they would need explicit directions. They would need modeling of role playing, and then they might need some help just getting started with the process. ELLs would be able to participate in role playing because it would not necessarily take any language, and they would be working in a smaller group. So if they were uncomfortable with their English proficiency, they would feel a little bit more comfortable in that smaller group. Another activity I was thinking about with this story is afterwards the students would take and make their own if-then situations. So they would use their own routines that they do daily, something they eat, just something that goes with the book, from their own homes, and they would make their own if-then with the pig. So they would show that, and then they would draw something that the pig asks them to do. And then they would have to write a sentence or a chunk of words describing what was in that. According to Wicca, the can-dos for English language proficiency, for the level 1, for the entering first grade, it says that English language learners can listen to stories that match expression with song and rhyme. Well, this story doesn't have song and rhyme, but it does have a lot of expression in it. You can see the facial expressions of the pig, and the visual pictures are really helpful in determining what is going on in the story. So I think that they would be able to still enjoy the story, be able to connect to it. Another thing that the Wicca says is that just hearing all of that vocabulary would help them to develop their English vocabulary. It also says that with speaking, that English language learners can repeat words and phrases and answer yes or no questions. So they could participate with the role-playing planning and even with class discussion if they felt comfortable enough. And with the Wicca can-dos for writing, if they can't write out words, they can write out words that are posted in the classroom, and they could also they can represent the story with icons. So they could definitely illustrate their story, and then a teacher or a peer could help them write out what they needed to do. As for the theory in class, I'm connecting this to Sapir-Whorf theory. As children are coming up with their own ideas for what the pig's doing, they're thinking about home, they're thinking about their culture, they're thinking in their first language. So they're using their first language to connect to their second language and to this new vocabulary. So that first language is helping out the second language, like Sapir-Whorf talk about. I also would hope that it would fall under social cultural theory, and a ZPD activity because I feel like it's more interactive. You're not just reading the story, you're asking the students to then represent something, to create something. Like Dr. Eduardo talked about with creating their own representation of what they're understanding. So as the students are making up their own if-then situation illustrations with the pig, they're not just mimicking the story, they're trying to imitate the story and then make it their own, like we've talked about in class. Also, this book could be a tool. It's definitely an American story. It's definitely a culture from here, but it also incorporates things that happen in every home. They're eating breakfast, they're getting dressed, they're taking baths, and so students can then, as we're talking about this, they're sharing what's happening in their homes and how they do things differently. Like someone takes a shower instead of taking a bath, or someone has a different toy instead of a rubber ducky, or they eat something different for breakfast. So this could be a tool where the students are sharing their experiences. So hopefully this is helping them to develop the vocabulary, not just learn new vocabulary, but to develop this new vocabulary that they will use in their English language. Thank you.